Now, I know I said my next review wasn't going to be another Clark Gable movie, but my Betty Davis review is proving to take longer than I expected because there's just so much information on that movie, keeping it a secret for now. There's so much information on that movie that it's just taken me a while to get it organized. And unfortunately, I didn't even like that movie that much. But for tonight, I have a great movie to review for you, Possessed. And Possessed came out in 1931. It's not the one that I've already reviewed with Joan Crawford. This is a different one. Kind of odd that she was in two movies called Possessed. But this stars Joan Crawford. She's the main character, and Clark Gable is second billed. And this is their third of 8 movies that they starred in together. And it's actually the first of those two that I'm reviewing, of them being the first movie of them that they were in together. And it also has Richard Gallagher, who plays, I would say he was gay in this movie. Obviously, well, it's a pre-code movie. It's but they're not going to openly call him gay, but he's definitely, I felt like he was very effeminate. He didn't have a wife, older man, and he plays this interesting character who basically is going to train Joan Crawford in the ways of living in New York. And he plays a businessman, a business associate of Clark Gable, but I sort of got the gay vibes from him in this movie, even though they wouldn't say it back then. And also Wallace Ford was in it, and he plays the small town sweetheart to Joan Crawford that she really has no interest in, but he's just like always been obsessed with her. But this is a MGM pre-code romance drama movie, and it starts out in a very interesting opening scene where you can see Joan Crawford. She's getting off of work in a small town. She works at a cardboard box factory where I guess they make boxes, and it's weird seeing Joan Crawford not in her elegant look. She's just in normal clothes, work clothes. She's sweaty. She's had a long day at work, and she's a blue-collar worker, which it's strange seeing her in that. And it's important to note that this movie came out during the Great Depression, so this movie especially would have touched and resonated with a lot of people, especially women at the time, seeing Joan Crawford in sort of this blue collar job. She's unhappy with her life because she's poor and she just wants more out of life. So a lot of females the majority of people who went to movies in those days were women, would have really resonated with her. But she's unhappy with her small town life and her job, and she wants nothing to do with Wallace Ford, who keeps asking her to marry, and she just always says no. But she wants more out of life. She wants the American dream. And the first scene that I want to note, and it's one of the most beautiful scenes I think that I've ever seen in any movie, and I would recommend, I didn't go to film school or anything, but I would recommend every film school to show this scene to their students, because it's one word that I describe it, it's magical. So she gets off work and she goes to the train yard, and this is brilliantly filmed. A train goes by and she's looking in the window of each train car that goes by, and she sees just the elegant life. She sees, I remember one car especially because she sees a man and a woman in like a tux, and they're dancing, and then she sees the lavish food, the delicious food, and she's just dreaming. and it's just beautifully filmed because each car goes by and she's just watching, and she's just dreaming like, why can't that be my life? She's seeing the good life flash before her eyes, and her feelings are literally what you and I feel when we watch these movies, and when we see people with more lavish lives than ours enjoying the good life, and when we just got done with a long day and we watch these people and we just think, man, I wish I had that life. So it's so interesting watching Joan Crawford watch this flash before our eyes, because we're watching her watch them. So it's an amazing scene. You'll know what I mean when you see it. But instantly, she decides to leave her old life behind after talking to Richard Gallagher, because he's drunk and he's convincing her, come to New York, stop being a viewer and come be an actor in our high society. So she does that. She takes him up on his offer. She goes to New York and she leaves her old life behind. And at this point, I want to sort of disclaim that I have to be a little careful with how I analyze the rest of the movie, because it sort of deals with very feminist issues, and that because Joan Crawford's character Marion, she essentially is becoming totally dependent on a man, Clark Gable, in a man's world. And obviously I'm a man and I can't totally judge her, especially I'm not from that era, and also Great Depression, so I can't be too quick to judge. I'd love to see what women's thoughts are on this movie in the comments, but she becomes totally dependent. She's a mistress, yet of course they're probably going to fall in love. But she's also using her beautiful looks to get ahead in life, and she literally admits to just wanting a rich man and his money. So all these things combine to issues that I can't really judge on, just because I can, but I won't in the review. But I will say that Marion, she truly grows as a person, not just as a female in this movie. She becomes a better person. She discovers culture and learns how to play instrument, and she can speak different languages, and she really has truly lived life and becomes a very cultured, intelligent person, really. And also Clark Gable grows as a person, because he's dealing with his own issues of trust issues with women, because he was previously married, and apparently divorced, and he doesn't want to marry again. The only other scene I want to note is later, when there's a scene where Marion is eavesdropping on these men who are telling Clark Gable, we want to back you to become the governor. And this scene was beautifully photographed, where she's just sitting in a chair in the dark listening to what these men have to say about her. And just note that scene. And also, spoiler, the ending scene. I usually in this channel I talk about how I hate quick endings in old movies, but this movie has a fairly quick ending, where I won't say what happens, what she does before, but she runs off crying into the rain, and Clark Gable chases after her, and it's just beautifully photographed, and he takes her in his arms, and he says something along the lines of, if I lose, I want to lose with you at my side. If I win, I want to win with you at my side. And of course they embrace, and this ending was just perfect. It was beautiful. It was quick, but it was perfect. And I want to give this movie a 3.5 stars. Not exactly perfect, because honestly, while I was watching the movie, I didn't like it too much, but the more I thought about the movie after watching it, the more I liked it. It's kind of weird. The more I think about it, the more I like it. So it's not perfect, but it's up there. It's definitely one of my favorite Joan Crawford movies I've ever seen. But the movie, it made over $600,000 at the box office, which was a lot of money. The movie was completed in just 26 days. And interestingly enough, apparently there was an extra scene of her working in the box factory, but they removed it. And also, it's important to note that Joan Crawford and Clark Gable had already started an affair together just 2 months before filming. So they were already getting it on before. So I talked about sort of the feminist ideas, and I have a book written by a female, and she kind of touches on some of the thoughts I had during watching, but she says, in Possessed, the Crawford character could only be believable if a very shady past were provided by the screenplay. The audience did not realize it. The audience did not realize it was just being insulted indirectly and joined in applauding Crawford for bettering herself and Gable for not holding that box factory against her, which she's more touching upon the idea that just because she's a poor person doesn't, like, so she's poor, she can't be with a rich lawyer from New York. So not exactly feminist ideas, but you get what I'm trying to say. I have more photos from the movie. I love this one. This was not in the movie. That's Clark Gable smoking before going out to make his speech. I don't remember that scene. It's very cool. Just a quick review from Film Daily back in that day. This man, Gable, that we've been watching for a little over a year, has come a long way from his villain roles. His performance suggests that he may become a solid actor, a personality he already is, but so much talent will take him a good deal farther than just his good looks. And let's see. So while Gable and Crawford were filming Possessed, rumors circulated that they were having an affair. In the picture, this is a quote from Joan, "In the picture we were madly in love. When the scenes ended, the emotions didn't. At the time, Clark was married to Rhea. He had in fact just married her again because the legality of the original ceremony was questionable." So they had a spicy fling on set. Not surprisable with Clark, because he did that with a lot of his female co-stars. And this is what Joan Crawford had to say about Clarence Brown, the director of the movie. "He was, I think, a genius. I think he helped all the actors in his films. He made you right and convinced you that you were right, and he picked up on subtle things the producers missed entirely. At Metro, I think he was the first director to leave his stamp on a picture, and most of us recognize this. But we were afraid to say out loud because the producer's ego wouldn't stand it." And this is Crawford, Joan, talking about her relationship with Clark. "Our relationship was private between us. It was a glorious affair, and it went on longer than anybody knows. It was sublime, probably more exciting because we felt like kids who'd gotten into the cookie jar while Uncle Louis Mayer was in the other room. And this is what MGM from the publicist said from the day. Joan was an outlet for Clark. He couldn't talk about all his problems, or he could talk about all his problems, and she listened and offered the right comments and usually the right advice. Outside of Carol Lombard, she was the only person who really got through to him. A lot of us thought they would marry, and I think they came close a couple times, but it wouldn't have worked because she was stronger than he was, and Clark knew he had an image to protect. Interesting. And then finally, Joan said, "We were both peasants by nature, not well educated, and so frightened and insecure that we felt sort of safe and home again when we could get together." Both of them, as she admitted, loused up marriages, and we had images to protect. In addition, there were so-called moral clauses, and it was just a mess for them to actually be together. But this video went on way longer than I expected, but that's a common theme when it's a good movie, and there's a lot of good things to say about the movie. But hope you all enjoyed the review, and keep an eye out for that Betty Davis review. It should be coming out in a few days. Have a good one, everyone.